I mean, I am paying $1,300 in a mortgage. Maybe I could rent a one bedroom for 1,000 or for 800 or something like that, maybe a little bit cheaper. And you're like, well, I would have saved, say, $500 a month. You find one for 800, super good deal. So you're renting at $500, and you're like, oh, then I'd be saving 6,000. But here's how the numbers actually work. Great, thanks for watching our video today. Today I'm going to be going over a situation that just kind of came across me. One of my friends was saying, hey, I'm going to medical school, so I don't want to end up purchasing a home now. And that's fine. Whatever he wants to do is 100% his decision. But what I did want to get into is the math behind it. Because I am so involved in real estate, this to me is just kind of second nature. But I just want to go over, and I'm going to send this video to my friend who's going to med school and just see what it is that he wants to do. Ultimately, that's all we can do is give people the information and let them decide. And all I'm looking at is the math behind it. There's so many things that go into making a decision, the emotional side. Just a lot of factors that I'm not going to go into here, but I am going to go into what the numbers are behind this. So this particular friend wants to buy a condo in Salt Lake, and I'm going to go over the numbers of what happens if he waits to buy until he comes back. So said condo is worth about $220, is about what market rate is for that. Your down payment on that, there's a really cool 3% conventional loan, as long as you're below about 64,000 a year annually, then you can qualify. And then the mortgage on that, assuming you go with that program and you have a pretty good credit score, it's going to be about $1,300, and that includes your HOA, that includes your mortgage, your payment and principal, your principal and interest. That includes your taxes, your insurance. It's the whole shebang that's involved there. And then the rents, on average, that one would go for about $1,500, right? So we're looking at about a 3-bed, 2-bath condo in Salt Lake. And maybe you spend a little bit more and get one a little nicer, and you rent it out for a little bit more. You can play around with the numbers a little bit, but here's what I want to go into is here's what happens if you go to med school for 4 years. So when you're there, right, your property is going to be working for you. So say you're here for the first year-ish, then you go ahead and you move on forward that way. So the first year, you're looking at it and you're like, okay, well, I am paying $1,300 in a mortgage. Maybe I could rent a one bedroom for 1,000 or for 800 or something like that, maybe a little bit cheaper. And you're like, well, I would have saved, say, $500 a month. You find one for 800, super good deal. So you're renting at $500, and you're like, oh, then I'd be saving 6,000. But here's how the numbers actually work. So because your down payment is right around $6,600, it'll rent for about $1,500. Let's just say that the seller is going to pay your closing costs. A lot of times I can negotiate that, and it works just fine. So we're going to go forward on that. Here's how money is made in real estate, right? Appreciation, your loan payoff, your cash flow, and then the tax benefits associated with real estate. So on appreciation, which especially when you're doing a very leveraged property, so very low down payment, then essentially the biggest way you're making money is through appreciation. And then it's your loan payoff. Your cash flow, when you're doing such a low down payment, your cash flow is going to be minimal. In this situation, you're like, oh, it's $200 a month, but you're going to have costs associated with it. There's vacancy rates that you're looking at. There's a lot of factors that go into that. I'm not going to get into those in this video, but we are going to say that the $200 gap covers all those expenses. So you're at break even for your cash flow. You're not making money, but you're not losing money. And then the tax benefits associated with it. Again, so many variables that go into that, but we're just going to say $2,000 a year for the sake of easier math. So that gets us at about 12,800 plus the 2, it's at 14,800. We're just going to round up to 15,000 a year is how much this property is going to be working for you by doing it that way. So At that $15,000 a year, for 4 years, you're looking at $60K, right? And that's kind of assuming that you buzz through medical school very quickly. I mean, you add another year onto that, you're looking at $75K, and that's just using simple interest. Honestly, all these are compound interest, but for the sake of simplicity of this video, I'll just use simple interest. And that's what would happen. I mean, $60,000. And say the first year, what did we say? You would save $500 a month, that's $6,000. So minus the $6,000 that you would have saved for renting, you're at $54,000 is the difference of what you'd have there. And on top of that, at this point, you'd have more than 20% equity. So your mortgage insurance would drop off of here, lowering your payment to about $1,200. And then assuming the expenses stay the same, then your cash flow starts bringing in $1,200 a year. This whole setup is the reason why, I mean, my wife and I buy a house every year and then recycle it, right? So typically it's a house and then an investment property as well as the plan. But with a house, we buy one, have the numbers there, rinse and repeat. Buy one, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Because then you have all these properties that are working for you and your net worth starts going up. You do that with 2 properties for over the 5-year period, 4-year period, then that number doubles, right? So it's looking at those numbers, seeing what makes sense for you. Obviously, there's so many more factors that go into it. It's, hey, well, I mean, maybe we need to use the $6,000 for something else. I don't know. But the point is, this is the numbers, and this is what happens if you end up waiting an extra 4 years to buy it. On top of that, assuming it did go up, let's just use simple interest, and we're basing the appreciation off of 4% year over year. Honestly, in Utah, we've been much higher than that recently. 2019, on average, I think it went up just under 7%. Before the year before that, 2018, I think it was right around 7% before as well. The year before that went up about 10%. And anyway, these are very conservative numbers, but you can be more aggressive. But let's just use that conservative number at that 4%. So 4% times the 4 years, let's again use very simple interests. It goes up 16%. And then this property that you wanted to buy for that, let's just go crazy simple and easy math. I mean, you're gonna have to pay $20,000 to $30,000 more for that same property just to start it off, and then you have to pay your mortgage insurance. On that one, it's already paid off. You can keep this one as an investment, or you can sell it and roll it into your next house and then have a much higher down payment, keeping your mortgage on your new home a little bit lower. So anyway, this is a quick video, and I'm doing it especially for you, Mr. M. I hope it's valuable to you. And again, there's no pressure on whatever you do. Honestly, everyone can invest and can live their life however they want. My goal simply is to empower people by giving them the information on how to invest in real estate and how to do it for your everyday Joe. I mean, yes, I'm fine working with big investors and whatnot, but I want the power of real estate to be available for friends, family, and just folks who want to be involved and maybe don't know how to do it so well. So anyway, hope this video was valuable to you. Feel free to go ahead and comment if you have any ideas there. I mean, the same principle doesn't just apply to med school. The same principle would apply if I was going to live in the Canary Islands with my wife for the next 4 years, and it's like, oh, well, should we buy something now or just wait till we come back? Well, if it were me, I'd buy something now, especially if I have family here that can manage it for me. I have someone who I trust here who can take care of it. If it's vice versa and I don't have anyone, I actually do have people in the Canary Islands, but if I didn't have anyone in the Canary Islands, then I maybe wouldn't buy an investment property there because I have no one to take care of it in case anything does come up. But if you have people there, that is a factor to consider. But again, hope this video was beneficial. And again, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave it in the comments or shoot me a DM, and I'm happy to go over those with you. Thanks and have an awesome day.